Human hearts aren't so lucky. Those battle scars remain. Oh, I can't let go of the one thing I wanted most. I'm chasing echoes of your ghost. Can't let go of the one thing I wanted most. I'm chasing echoes of your ghost. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. La da 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 da.
Very happy Monday to everybody. Welcome to the Roommates Podcast. We got a loaded show today for you. Halloween influenced show today.
Yes.
Nicole's actually
Yay!
finishing up her notes right now.
I just keep thinking of stuff. Man, Halloween is my time of year. Like, this is my absolute jam. So I'm looking forward to. We haven't done anything to get into like any type of fall
No.
spirit at all.
No.
So
Not at all.
it's a little
We're more
sad.
more refreshed and rested than last show.
Yes.
Yeah,
last
what
show
were we
we-
doing last show?
I don't even remember. Like I remember it was just so crazy that we just had gotten home and it was just like,
That's what it was.
Yeah.
We went to Palm Beach.
and we were so tired and just like at each other's throats from being in the car all
Yes.
day. So that's what happened there. But yeah, Halloween is in the air. We'll get in there, I guess.
Yeah, Halloween and love.
Halloween and love. Yeah, 'cause
Aww.
we decided to get married in Halloween or on Halloween.
In Halloween?
In Halloween.
In Halloween time.
In October. My brain goes to mush when I'm operating the fader for some reason. So what has changed there has been that Halloween is no longer like Halloween. It's turned into our wedding anniversary instead.
It was already my favorite holiday, and now it's double my favorite holiday.
Now you went and ruined it.
No, now we went and made it better.
That's
because
true.
what we used to do every year was sit and watch scary movies all day, because that's my thing. And I was like, you know, if we get married on Halloween, we don't have to make an anniversary tradition. We already have a tradition. We'll just sit and watch scary movies.
That is true.
So,
Or at least scary movies that I can watch or that I even care to watch.
yes, Jeff doesn't do horror films very well. And I would say outside of TV shows, horror is my main genre of film watching.
Definitely is. I've gotten better at it though.
Gotten better at it.
Watching horror movies.
Yeah,
You've
but
got to say.
you'll always want to watch like alien stuff, and then that freaks you out real bad.
Yeah, that's true. But those are the ones that I want to watch.
Well, all right. Let me have a look.
Well,
at
this is the
what-
last show before Halloween. We will not be here next.
I thought it was. It's actually not. We will be here next week. We won't be here.
Yes.
So we leave
The 30th.
the 30th.
And we come, which is
But
on
that's
Thursday.
okay. That's okay. I figured we'll still get people amped up and in the mood
Yes.
for the holiday, if you even celebrate it.
Yeah, we'll be gone from the 30th to the 4th of November.
Yep.
And our next show is going to be on the 28th. So yeah, one more before you guys are gone. I
Yes.
will still be around.
But this way we can just get people in the mood anyway. I don't know if anybody else has that feeling. I noticed the other day I had to sign something and I was like, it's the 16th. And they were like, it is the 19th. And I was like, where the hell is this month going?
Yeah,
Disappeared
I know,
for me.
It's been really crazy. But it doesn't seem like Halloween.
Well,
But
no,
that's
we also
because we
live in
don't
Florida.
Get, yeah, we don't get fall seasons
So-
very often.
So that's the thing. Actually, since we are now officially, like, we're planning on moving back to St. Louis, and it gets very cold there. The other thing is we're going to Colorado next week. So I started looking through my closet, like, to pack for that trip, and I was like, I got rid of my coat, first of all.
Should've never done that.
Oh.
I don't know why I did that.
do you want to borrow one?
No, I ordered a coat off of Amazon. I'm terrible. Off of Amazon.
She was going through. She's like, "This is a coat." She goes, "This is a jacket. This isn't a coat." So I guess a jacket and a coat changes between the thickness of it.
Yeah, like a jacket's like a zip up, like keep you warm if it's like 60 degrees out. A coat's like it's 30 degrees. I don't want to freeze.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like it's me. I have my jackets that I could wear in probably maybe in the 20s, but then I have like my coat that's like I'm ready to truck through the wilderness
The
through
20s?
snow.
Are you kidding me? You'd wear a jacket in the 20s.
I am a fat man who is always hot no matter what.
You're not anymore. I think you've lost enough
You've
weight that
lost
when we
all of
move
it.
back, because when we move to St. Louis, it's going to be the middle of winter, and it's going to be effing cold. I think you're
Yes.
going to be shocked. A, you've lost weight, so your body temperature is going to probably drop a lot quicker. And B,
Go on.
you've lived in Florida for 2 years, and you've probably been a little pussified.
Yes.
That's the nicest way I can say that.
I think that is actually true. But yeah, no, you've lost a ton of weight. And
a ton of weight. Just a ton of weight.
And we've actually started to ourselves. I don't know what that is. Might need to turn that off, whatever that is. Don't know. I think the dog turned something on by laying down on a
On the
copyrighted thing. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, we'll just talk over that.
Yeah,
real
that's all
quick.
right. We can just talk over it. Not a big deal at all. 1, 2, chick.
Apollo decided he wanted to watch Netflix.
Yes,
so.
he did. He was watching the trailer to Big Mouth, it looked like.
Sorry, yeah, he stepped on the remote.
Oh, now
He does
he's,
that all
now
the
he's
time.
visiting.
Yeah,
That's all right.
he does that all the time, actually.
All right,
The
dude.
joys of owning an animal. They always
I know.
catch
Actually,
you by surprise.
that's the other thing. I think I might have mentioned that the last podcast, but his first birthday will be while we're in Colorado, so I'm a little sad. Might have to give Dave all the supplies to throw him a little birthday party while we're gone.
Yeah, we gonna party.
You know what I find so funny is that whenever you go to like a dog bakery or something and you get them something for their birthday, they don't even want to eat it. They're just like, I don't want this. Like, I remember Benny was like that.
Benny's like that, but I think that's a Benny thing. I think he's just a picky dog.
There are some dogs that do that, though.
I did that with my parents' dog, and she never got fancy treats like that because they live way out in the country. So I was visiting, and I stopped at a dog bakery in St. Louis, and I was like, well, I'll get something for their dog.
Yeah.
Brought it to her, set it down. She looked at it. She didn't know what it was. She didn't know it was food for her. Like,
Yeah.
she was confused. She was like, what do I do with
I think
this?
that's what it was with Benny, because it was like a
Yeah.
cake. And he's like, am I allowed to eat this? I don't think so.
You're going to yell at me.
I'm going to get in trouble if I
I
eat
know
this.
it did look. They do look really fancy. I don't care.
Yes.
I think Apollo would eat anything
I think
that
you're
you
right.
put in front of him.
As long as you let him know that it's okay, I think he would eat it.
I think he would even if you told him it wasn't okay.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
If I paint it to look like our walls in our house, he'll eat it. 'Cause he seems to really enjoy chewing holes through
you've had to
everything.
start going through that and fixing.
Yeah, I spent the day the other day
Spackling.
spackling and like refilling in all the wood that he's chewed. I have to go through and sand it, but Jesus, yeah, he's a chewer for sure, for sure.
Man, for sure.
All right. Sorry, I got off track. I don't even know where you guys were before I left to go deal with that.
We were just talking randomly on top of it, so it didn't get copyrighted.
Yeah, but before that, it
Oh.
was more you guys were discussing your anniversary.
Yeah, and it's just kind of changed the whole feel of October and everything, because now we, are in anniversary mode and we're going to go do this. But apart from that, I don't know. October Halloween just feels different now than it used to be. I think it's definitely one of those nostalgic things. When you're a kid, it's awesome and great. And when you get older, you're like, it's just another day.
I know for me, and maybe Dave feels this way a little bit too, but like, because you had been going to Archon, that convention in St. Louis. It's always the first weekend of October.
Yep.
And you had been going, 15 years in a row?
This is the first year I have not gone, and I went 15 years in a row. So
Yeah.
first year not going, it feels weird.
And this is my first year I went 6 years in a row and then didn't go this last year. So that usually kicks off the Halloween spirit for me with a convention where I'm like in costume for a weekend and hanging out with friends, and it's cold outside for the first time. So not having that, I think, is what
Yeah.
kind of brought a damper on fall for me.
Well, and this heat wave has just been nonstop across the United States. It's finally starting to slow down. We saw that huge Arctic blast hit, but as far as it goes, like the heat has not left. It doesn't want to leave at all. We had a cool day the other day, so I got somewhat of a fall feel to it, but the leaves are actually falling off the trees because we don't have just palm trees down here.
Either way, I'm excited to start buying fall and winter clothes again since we're moving out of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now I own like nothing but tank tops.
Yeah, I'll just
Good
be
to go
inside.
shopping.
Me and Dave might take a shopping trip.
Yep.
You probably need some new clothes anyway after losing weight. Like you're wearing the same shirts you were when. We
Okay,
met you?
okay. Well, that's just because I haven't probably bought clothes since I met you. Like,
That's
I
true.
bought enough T-shirts to supply a small army.
No, wait a
and
minute.
I
You
just-
had the what was it? It was one of the boxes, the loot crates that used to come through. I had a T-shirt
shirt
in
box.
Yeah, I
Shirt
I
box.
did. I don't even remember what it was called. It was basically a loot crate in the mail. You got some nerdy stuff and a shirt every month. I did that for like 6 months.
Those are all the shirts that you own currently.
No. So there was a website that sold shirts, and they would occasionally do a sale where you would get 2 mystery shirts for like $6 or something.
Yeah.
And one time I went nuts. I was like, 2 shirts for $6? Give me 10 of those. So I had like 20
Yeah.
shirts.
Hey guys, Dave here. Due to some technical difficulties, unfortunately, some of the episode is missing. At this part, Nicole is talking about how she buys clothes and that when she buys something new, old stuff goes out, and how me and Jeff don't do that, and we're basically hoarders of clothes. But here's the episode. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Is at the same amount of fullness all the time. I buy something, I have to get rid of something in its place. These two are kind of hoarders.
Well, no. Okay. So it's like the idea of like like for me, I put on a little weight, or like a bunch of those shirts I got, they were different like cotton blends and stuff. So some of them shrunk. And it was like, I really want to wear this shirt. It's awesome. But I wore it one time and then it shrunk, or I got fat, or both, or whatever. So I hang on to it for that one day I might be able to wear it. And I've been able to wear a few shirts lately that I haven't worn in years. It's great. If I had just gotten rid of them, then I
wouldn't have known.
wouldn't get to wear them.
You wouldn't
No,
have known
you
your
would
weight
have
loss
gone to
journey.
buy new shirts. You would have been like, wow, I need some new shirts because I'm an adult.
No.
You probably don't need to be wearing the same shirt you wore when you were 21.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
just saying.
well, with weight loss goals, it's still been pretty much on track. You've been dropping like crazy.
Yes, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
From cutting beer and cutting my calories in half, but still going. I told Jeff because we're going to Colorado and they have highly rated breweries there. I was like, I will take one day and we will go brewery hopping, but only if we get up that morning and do a hike,
Yeah.
which
Ooh.
I plan on doing anyway. I'm
D-
excited
can
about
you
that.
can you get both experiences as one? Do they offer like drunk hiking? So it like
That sounds like a terrible idea. It's a good way to get killed.
well, I mean, I don't know. I don't go hiking.
No, especially not in the mountains. I feel like
Oh.
I'm way too clumsy for that.
Yeah, we're gonna be near Garden of the Gods. So it sounds like a terrible place to be drinking and hiking at.
I've heard it's lovely.
Yeah, it looks lovely. The pictures look
I
fantastic.
noticed on Google Maps when you go to look for a place, like there's the Garden of the Gods hiking trail on the map, but it also has little photo markers, and it looks like it's just a little camera icon on the map, and when you click it, it's photos of some of the landmarks there that people have taken pictures of and posted online. It's really cool. So you can see on the trail where the like spots are to stop and take pictures.
So is that one of the locations? Because Google was testing basically Street View for off-roading, and they had this program where hikers could sign up and they would get like almost that Google Car Street View camera. It was a backpack, and
Oh,
they
wow.
would pay people to go hiking wearing these so they could get the whole trail captured. Is it something like that, or is it just photos?
No, it looked like just photos.
Oh, okay.
Like that people had taken. Because you would click on the one photo and then it would just expand into a bunch of photos that people took and posted and must have tagged that location.
That's what happens now. Now you can just look at photos of the place and you don't even have to
Well,
go.
damn, in my Oculus, I can't remember the name of the app I downloaded. It's called like Wander or something like that. And you just travel, like you just get in virtual reality and travel the world. And I'm like, this is awesome, but also kind of ridiculous.
Well, I think that's cool for like somebody that's has a medical issue or whatever, and they can go travel the world. That's cool.
It was neat, and they have like categories broken down. So there was a category on there that was like top 10 most haunted places in the world,
You can visit them in
and you
virtual
could visit them
reality.
in virtual reality. That was really that was
Ooh,
actually
they had
really
virtual
cool.
ghosts.
No, but they do have the virtual Winchester Mansion, which I told you need to look at because they played into that in Borderlands 3, which I really liked.
Ooh.
Yeah, you guys have been playing Borderlands 3 a lot.
Yeah, like
Yes.
crazy. It's so good.
Well, who's higher level than each other?
I'm
Nicole
at
is.
26 or 27.
Nicole's put more time into it. Just 'cause she's gone and just played a bunch, and then I got to go and do things and code and other junk. So
Well, she showed me iced teas in it.
Yeah, I just got to the point where iced tea is in there, which is awesome. That makes the game for me.
Yeah, we had to end up changing out your graphics card.
Yeah,
'cause-
I think I mentioned that the last podcast. This game had crashed my PC. It would crash it 7 or 8 times trying to play it in like 3 hours. And then it got so bad. Eventually, less than a week ago when I tried playing, it crashed like 5 times in a row. Like just trying to start up the game, it would crash. And it did that 5 times in a row. And then I got it playing. So I was afraid to turn it off. So I just paused it and came down and had dinner. Because it started working.
Yeah.
So I paused it, came down to have dinner, and went back up, and my graphics card had exploded. It didn't explode, but it did something. It smelled awful.
Oh, it was
smelled like an
bad.
electric fire. I was
Well,
terrified.
yeah, I was streaming and you said something. You're like, I need help, And I was like, what's going on? So it smelled like, electrical burning. I was worried there was a fire in the wall or something, and we were looking through all of the electronics. No, it was just the old 1088 gave up the ghost and burned up to oblivion.
Yep. Which you guys got fixed in like 3 days.
Yeah, we got a 2080 for you,
amazing.
and it just popped right in, and boom, done. Work.
Popped right in and boom, done.
Boom, done, work.
That's how I like it.
all right.
All right. All right.
Well, full circle back to the Halloween, because we're talking about Halloween. It's just before we got into our tangent, like it's different now. And Dave was saying, which I'm not sure if I agree 100% with that it's more of an adult thing now than it was kids. But I think that it's just it's kind of how you view it as you get older.
Well, and with that, I was saying that I feel like the holiday has shifted, because when we were kids, I remember every kid went trick or treating. Like we would even some years we would go like to one of the malls, and it would just be loaded with people and all this. And in recent years, less people are going trick or treating.
Yeah, but in recent years, these like our generations aren't having as many kids. They've been saying that over and over. They're like, we're like, no, we don't want to have children.
Well, and that's not even the thing, though. It's people with kids. They're not taking them. People aren't going. As many people aren't going door to door randomly as they used to. They're now going just to events like trunk or treats and stuff where they feel it's safer for their kids to go.
I'm sorry, but I went out trick or treating in the 80s, and I lived to tell the tale.
Yeah, but
I didn't get razor blades in my apples.
Okay, I have a little brother who's now 12, but in the last 5 years, I would say I've taken him trick or treating 3 out of those 5 years before we moved, and there were always kids.
I
Like
think it depends where you live too.
there were always kids out there. The only thing is, I know my brother, I think he quit trick or treating before the age that I quit. However, I have 6 younger siblings.
Right.
So I went because they were going, and he's an only child at this point because he's the youngest. But he got to the point where he was like, I don't really want to go. And I was like, man, you're like 10, 11. Go get your candy. And he's like, nah,
I think
I'd
for
rather
me,
play
it's-
video games.
I think I stopped doing that when I was like 14 or 15. Like right there is where the changeover happened. I was like, I'm not doing trick or treating anymore.
I think I was 13 or 14. And then I just dressed like a normal person and would take my siblings.
Yep. And then you're like, well, this is what we do now.
Because I felt cool.
Yeah, I've had more fun in recent years taking my like nephews and nieces out, and I just hang back, let them watch and have fun. But what also kicked this off when I said it's kind of less of a thing for kids and it's more for parents. I've noticed that the parents like love it. It's now turned into things where there's like block parties, like cul-de-sac parties,
Yeah.
where you show up and they're like, there's coolers of beer for the adults and all this
That was
other
always
stuff.
a thing when I was a kid. That was always a thing, even in the 80s.
Really?
That was just, that was Halloween around our
I was
time.
I never saw that.
Well, did you guys live in like a neighborhood or was the house kind of out by itself?
We lived in a neighborhood, and then for a few years we would go to my grandparents, who lived in a even bigger, nicer neighborhood.
Yeah, but your parents are also a little more uptight, like religious.
I mean, well, okay.
I wouldn't see them attending
there
a block
maybe
party.
could have been block parties. I was probably too young to know what they were. My parents would just walk past them, so that could have been a thing.
Because I remember when I was in kindergarten and I went trick or treating. My dad was in the military, and we lived on a military base, and it was like you just walked around the military buildings, and there would be like 20, 30 people living in one big. They were like duplexes, but like stuck together. What is that called?
A
An
dorm.
apartment? A
What?
dorm? Apartment complex?
It's not like an apartment though. It's like a 2-story house.
Oh, a townhouse.
Yeah, but they're like connected to other 2-story. It's
Yeah.
like yeah,
Yeah,
it's
townhouse.
hard to explain.
Condos.
Yeah, kind of, I guess.
We always call them
Anyway,
townhouses.
but there were a shitload of people in such a small area that everybody was just sitting outside partying, and some people would like put up these big elaborate.
Part of my childhood is the smell of
Party
Budweiser and Bud Light on people's breath
Oh,
No, see, I don't have
in
that.
Halloween.
yeah.
That's
I don't have
beautiful.
that memory.
But we also were in like that's the thing. I think that what you're seeing is, I think that it's a small town thing. Because if you're in a small town and you have a huge neighborhood, you're definitely going out trick or treating with your kids. In big, huge cities, it's like, well, let's go out to the rich areas and hit them up because they're going to be giving out candy and it's safe and we're not going to die.
Well, and that's why we started going to my grandparents' subdivision, because they were in
Yeah.
a nicer, upscale neighborhood. And
Same.
like you would have houses where they would give out full-size candy bars. And that's why I trick-or-treated until I was like 14 or 15, because it wasn't like, here's some Smarties. It was like good candy.
It's like you're feeding the habit.
Yeah.
Man, poor inner city, poor people don't get to participate in Halloween now because everybody wants to go to the rich people houses.
I think that's not the reason why. I think because the crime runs rampant on that night too. But when you're younger, you're just way more oblivious to it. You're like, oh, everything's safe and great when you're a kid.
That's true. And your parents probably did let you go out by yourself if they were smelling like Budweiser. on
No,
Halloween.
it was a whole family event, and they'd be drinking beers, but they're walking, they weren't driving. So we were walking around, like we go to my aunt's neighborhood and they'd be having beers. And that's the thing. You don't realize it when you're a kid. You're like, they were just like us, like partying, having fun, being stupid. And they had children, but it was like way more free spirited. Now it's like, how dare you drink around your kids?
Yeah, well, now it's how dare you do anything around your
Yeah.
kids. Jesus.
Think of the children.
I hate the children.
We talked about it. We talked about it last time, but yeah, I mean, we live in a world now that kind of just they really just have gone over the top with the baby and kids deal. So it was different then. They're like, oh, they'll be all right. Oh, they fell down on some rocks and they're crying, but they'll be all right in 2 seconds. They're gonna eat some candy and they won't care. They'll remember.
Although one thing I think we all can agree on is that nobody is giving out drugs to your children on
No.
Halloween.
I would like to know the statistics of that actually being a reality.
Like people that like drugs, they're not giving their drugs away.
Yeah.
It's not happening. I don't care who you are. No one's just
Yeah,
like,
let me give you my
"Here."
meth that I just, killed a dude for.
Well, I
Yeah.
think they're more worried about like people who are consuming a large amount of drugs could like they're less responsible. They could accidentally end up drugs in that candy or on it or on any part of it.
I made LSD caramel apples, and I'm just going to share these with everyone so they can just taste the rainbow.
That sounds cool.
You know,
You
it's
should
kind
do
of
that.
it's kind of ironic because the candy will kill you just as fast as the drugs will.
That's
It's
so
all poison.
true.
It's all absolute
Oh
poison.
my god. Yeah, don't get your weed in my son's Snickers.
Yeah, see, and that's another thing. Potheads aren't giving away that. They're not.
No.
Why? So the kid can leave and they can be like, remember when we give that kid weed and we have no idea what happened?
Again, though, they're not going to give their weed away because they're going to be like, oh, no, I'm out of weed. They're not giving it away.
Yeah.
No one's giving their drugs away.
No, I agree with that. And that was a thing that even back in the 80s and 90s in school, they would teach you about that. They were like, check your candy and all this other stuff. They still thought the boogeyman was out there putting needles and, and razor blades and everything.
There was probably one case in the history of Halloween where someone did something like that.
I would like to know the statistics.
And
I don't know.
I do know a few years ago there was a story where someone got arrested on Halloween because he was giving out porno mags and and beer, and like 2 teenagers like who were like around 12 or 13 told their parents.
What
they were
kind
like,
of kid tells their parents on that?
They
when you're
were
12, 13.
the kids that are scared of getting in trouble. So
Yeah.
they told their parents, they're like, yeah, we got like this Playboy and a Budweiser from this house. So the guy went to jail for giving porn and alcohol to minors.
Oh, damn.
They probably went to Catholic school.
They said their Hail Marys
So-
and moved past
So
it.
that has happened, but I don't know about drugs or anything.
Damn. No. I think more likely what has happened over the years is like senile women who still want to participate in Halloween are giving out their prescription to
Oh, you want-
kids.
Here you go.
I've
One
got
Kit
this
Kat,
bottle
one
of-
Xanax.
This little bottle of Tic Tacs for you.
Oh, no.
That's
No,
what's
no, no,
happening.
no,
It's
no.
not druggies, it's senile people.
But yeah,
Blame your elders.
If some of the viewers have experienced anything that is remotely close to having drugs in their candy or whatever, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think that's a real thing. I think it's just like a propaganda thing. Like, hey, check your candy every year, kids. Don't want razor blades in it from... It's probably like something that was put out in the 50s.
If anything, I'd be like, check your candy to make sure it's not expired.
I'm the
that's
apple bandit.
true.
You see, man? I'm the apple bandit.
What was that?
Apple bandit. Put the razor blades into the apples. Want to see kids' mouths bloody, you see?
Ew. Ah.
Oh. Okay, well, moving on. What else do we got?
We have the deformed dude that was framed.
yeah.
Well, not framed.
I
but-
don't think he was. I don't know.
No.
I'm just saying. Weird that this story of this guy, Michael Miller, and you can look him up to see his photo if you want. He's 19 years old. Was arrested on charges of murder for a guy that they don't really have anything linking him to the guy who was murdered. So he's 19-year-old. The guy murdered was 47 years old. And I feel like they just heard, like, police. It seems like police just heard that this guy might know this kid, and people are afraid of him because he's a severe burn victim. Like, he's disabled from it. He, is in a wheelchair, but he's very disfigured from these burns. And I'm like, of course they would. Like, it's close to Halloween. They're just pinning this on some dude who... Seriously, he's in a wheelchair and somehow murdered a guy and buried his body miles out into the desert. Like this.
Okay, here, hold on. Let's take a step back because I'm even a little confused.
Okay.
What is the overarching story? Like
Yeah, so a body of a 47-year-old man was found buried in the desert, miles away from his home.
Okay.
And they've arrested this 19-year-old kid, Michael Miller, for the murder, but nobody has anything tying the two together.
Kind of reminds me of like the Dassey case.
Do they state why they even arrest? You said he knew the guy,
They said they got one tip that at one point Michael Miller had lived with that guy.
so they used to be roommates.
According to one person, according to Michael Miller's family, he's never been around that dude in his life, and none of them know who he is, and they're like, no, he is not connected to
I
that
don't
guy.
get how they could just pin a murder on somebody
Well,
without
of course-
substantial evidence.
Of course, they're going to have to put it to trial,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming it'll either be dropped soon because they don't have any, like, there was, like, nothing. Now, I'm not saying they don't have anything that they haven't shared yet, but there was literally nothing. Like, they were just like, one person said that could have been his roommate at one point, and his family's like, no.
So he's just been convicted, or not convicted. He's been placed under arrest for
yeah,
possibly
so,
murdering this dude.
Charged.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
So I want to follow that because it felt a little bullshitty to me.
yeah.
It felt a little gimmicky and easy for them to be like, oh, we found this killer who's crazed and has his face burned off. And wow. I was like, this is ridiculous.
To make a murder season 3.
There you
I'm
go.
going to investigate.
Zellner
I'm
is
on the case.
she's
I
looking
want
for
to find
somebody.
out.
I'm sure I'm sure that'll be thrown out. I don't see how that can. I mean, beyond a reasonable doubt, that's all it has to be.
Well, and we do got to remember we're only taking what's provided at the surface level. The legal teams are, putting their cases together, providing evidence, they're cross-examining evidence. Like, we don't know what is going on in the background other than what the media tells us.
Right, which is scary too to think about, because that's why we've seen a lot of trials that the ones that end up being mistried or I don't feel like are very just in their is because they're very heavily covered on media. Like, they have a lot going on, like too much information gets out to the public, and then it's hard to judge somebody fairly. So
absolutely,
I understand why they don't put all that information out there. They don't want the public to be making a decision. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
And if it is real, then someone's probably going to make a movie about it and turn it into something crazy. It'll be like based on a true story.
Well, with the media, they like to do the whole guilty until proven innocent rather than the innocent until proven guilty thing that is actually part of the judicial system. But with the media does get a hold of it, it's you're guilty until you're proven innocent.
Yeah, well, and that is the problem with media and even the social justice warriors online and stuff, where they cast judgment before we even have all the facts. We know what's going on. And then when the person is found not guilty, people freak out and they're like, how are they letting a guilty person go? And it's like, we don't know all the information. That stuff isn't released to us. We don't know what happened in the courtroom, what the lawyers discussed. That person could be completely innocent, or who knows? Like, there's no way for us to know other than to trust the legal system.
You just have to have evidence.
Yeah.
And if they don't have any evidence enough to pin that.
It was just interesting, whether he's guilty or innocent. I was like, ooh, this is really interesting. Like, this could go one of two ways. Either like the police tried pinning this on this poor innocent guy who's like been living with a deformity his whole life, or it's going to be like, oh my God, he took his revenge. And like, I don't know.
Or he did it. We don't know.
That's what I'm saying. If he did it, he could have I'm excited to find out, but it was,
keep after that story. I'd like to hear how it goes.
Keep after that story.
Keep after that one.
Well, deal.
That's a nice one.
All right.
We'll update as updates come out.
Yes.
I figured as far as getting into the spookiness before Dave does game stuff, I wanted to talk about what you guys are afraid of.
Ooh.
I have one fear.
I know Jeff has a fear. I know Dave has a fear.
Yeah.
He's over there making sounds, and he does have a major fear.
Yeah. Dave has a major fear of...
Do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah.
What is your fear,
you guys
Dave?
are just staring at me. So
yeah, I'm waiting for you to...
This is it is a fear, but it's also a phobia, and it's incredibly psychological. It's just drilled into the back of my head, and I can't control it. But I have a medical phobia. So, and it's not even that I'm scared of medical stuff. At this point, I'm scared of the way I react to medical stuff, which is why I avoid it so heavily.
Yeah.
So I can't watch TV shows that show medical stuff. I can't watch movies that show it. I can't even really talk about it for too long, or it could lead to me passing out.
Right.
And it's like in my permanent record that if I do anything with shots or blood, I have to be laying down. It's listed that I will pass out multiple times. Yeah. And it all dates back to childhood trauma. So
what do you think caused that?
Well, when I was a kid, oh Lord, how old was I? I think I was like 8. My appendix ruptured, and my pediatrician did not say it was my appendix.
Right.
Said it was like gas and other stuff. So for 3 days, I had a ruptured appendix. It was like about the size of a football before I went to the emergency room, and I was starting to black out.
How old were you?
8.
8.
Yeah.
The size of a football? Like no joke.
That's what I was told. I don't know how true that is. I mean, I was a kid. They were just like, yeah, it was like the size of a football. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I went. My mom was thinking it was my appendix because she was looking up stuff in medical books, and she's like, something's not right. Like, I was in the most excruciating pain I've ever experienced in my life. It was really bad. It was right after Easter. So the first day, my parents thought I ate too much candy and that I was just kind of sick. And I was sick a lot. I couldn't hold any fluids down, nothing. And so by day 3, we went to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician actually was arguing with my parents about what my condition was. And my mom was like, no, we're going. They had to wheelchair me out, and I started blacking out in the car. And then
Was that just due to the pain?
Yeah, to the pain, and also I was about to die.
Oh.
And then we got to the emergency room. I remember being wheeled in and being put on a bed, and the doctor who actually birthed me came in, looked at me for 2 seconds. I'll never forget this. He literally walked in, just looked at me, and turned and goes, prep the OR, and just walked out. And they rushed me into the OR. They told my parents that I was within hours of dying, that my appendix was about to rupture. I then spent 9 days in the hospital. They had to run a tube into my system. I was on an IV, and my kidneys shut down while I was in the hospital as well. I had to relearn how to walk. I missed 42 days of school that year, almost failed 3rd grade. Basically had to learn how to teach myself math to catch up, which is why I've always been told I do math slightly different than a lot of people, and I think that's because I figured out how to do math. I didn't have a teacher teach me math.
Right.
So that I was fine for. That was when I was 8. I was fine. When I was about 14 is when it started bubbling up, and then by the time I was 18. Even just talking about this, like right now, I would almost start to feel like I would pass out. It's actually gotten a little calmer,
but
it surged up when I hit adulthood. Out of
I wonder
nowhere.
if it's more of you just not trusting medical staff.
It's not a trust thing. So I was reading online because apparently this is a thing that they're starting to notice is people that have severe medical problems when they're kids end up with these psychological problems when they're adults.
I'll raise my hand to that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. It was dormant for a while for me. I was fine. Oh, it first popped up when I went and got a shot done, and next thing I know, I woke up on the ground and I was staring up at doctors and nurses, and they were like, "Oh, you passed out," and I was like, "What?" And then from that day on, it was like a thing.
Do you not think that maybe it's less you being afraid of that stuff and more just like your body's reaction to the thought of, because I mean, you said you didn't have that phobia until you passed out, and now is it more like you're afraid that something's going to happen to you?
So at this point, it like when I say it's a phobia and like it is a fear, it's not that I'm scared of that stuff. I just know it's like a roller coaster, and I know when I go down that route, it's like I'm strapping myself in the cart and I'm in for a ride, and I'm going to pass out once it hits a tipping point. And at this point, I would say the fear is that I am scared of that feeling, that experience, because passing out is the worst. It makes you sick all day. At least for me, if I pass out, I have to go lay down for like 4 hours with a fan on me, and I feel like I'm going to throw up if I even move.
See, and I've passed out a few times getting blood drawn, but it was because I hadn't eaten. Like they were like, "You got to eat," and I'd wake up and be like, "Yeah, I know." Like if your blood sugar is really low and they take anything from you, that's what your body does.
Yeah.
But it was never a fear. Like I watched my brother, and that's why I knew how to handle you. Because Jeff is the same way. He turned white, like almost see-through and sweaty, just like pouring sweat instantly. And I was like, dude, that's exactly how my brother used to look as soon as we walked into a doctor's office. It was like we were holding up this little slippery bag of skin because he just couldn't do it.
I turned green, apparently. Like they straight up said the few times I've had it, they're like, you turned green. And it's just, maybe it's the way I'm passing out. I don't know, but like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Mm-mm.
What about you?
If you want to see me squirm, this is how you do it. Like I had to tell teachers in college, I would warn them. I'd be like, please don't talk about this. And I was like,
I used to go out into the hallway.
Yeah,
I'd be like, I'm not doing this.
Well, and that's what I would tell them. I'm like, I'm not joking. I'm like, if you for some reason touch on this topic, I am going to walk out the door.
See, and this is what I think is kind of hard for me, is that I grew up with medicine being a huge part of my family, my life. That's what we talked about at dinner. My dad was a paramedic. My mom is a nurse. My stepmom is a radiation technologist. Like, everybody in my family works around the medical field and sees a lot of gross stuff. So, and I was a CNA and then went to school for radiation technology, and I didn't finish it, but I was around that kind of thing always. And so that became normal conversation for my family.
Right.
And now it's like I'm around two people who,
Well,
if I
and-
say anything about that, it's like, no, don't. And I'm
And
like,
for me, it's not gross stuff because I can watch gory slasher films. I can watch, like, I don't know if I could now. Somehow I watched most of the Saw movies, even Saw 2, which has the pit of syringes. So, and I remember when I watched it, the group I was with, they knew about my condition. They were worried. They all turned to me. They're like, Dave, don't look. I'm like, oh, that's wicked. And they're just like, how are you not on the ground right now? Like, they were confused. But something about like horror and gore doesn't translate. I think my mind can make that disconnect of this is a Hollywood. This is not real. Where put on just a stream of some doctors and I'll be like, I gotta leave. I gotta go. Like something about it, just there's a difference there that my brain can pick apart.
I understand. It just sucks not being able to like have that. Like when I was a child and my mom was going through nursing school, she would play surgery videos and just watch them. And I remember being like 4 and 5, just sitting there with her, and she'd be like, "Now he's pulling," and she would talk. I won't say anything, but she would talk me through the surgeries and explain to me what they were doing. I thought that was so awesome.
You get desensitized to it pretty quickly then.
Yeah,
because
but
of that.
I don't think that surgical and medical things are something that you
well,
should be afraid of, because medicine saves lives every day. And
Right.
actually what's scary to me for you guys is that a lot of people who end up dying early die from preventable things because they won't go to the hospital.
Right. And
And
a lot
I
of
worry that that's going to happen to
well, a
you
lot of that
guys.
trauma happens between the ages of 4 and 8. That sticks with you for a long, long time. And that's just, I mean, they're finally saying, okay, they take it serious, because most people are like, of course, you don't like the doctor or whatever. But they're like, no, I have an actual phobia to going to see a doctor. And now more doctors' offices are aware of that. And they are like, oh, they have an actual problem with this. So let's try to make this as, easy street for them as possible. Instead of just going, you're crazy,
Well,
get in the chair.
you had a actual horror story happen to you when you were a
Yes.
kid that I'm just assuming that's where your fear comes from, because it was
It's got to be
horrible.
Yeah. Before we get into that, I would like to know your fears, though.
Okay, so I told Jeff I don't know what I'm afraid of, and Jeff says spiders. And I'm like,
I've seen you go, "Ah!"
if they drop and surprise me, I'm scared of them. But I'm scared of almost anything that surprises me.
Yeah.
If I see a spider, I'm always like, oh, that's really pretty. I can walk by it and look at it. It's not a fear. I don't like them falling on me from
Yeah.
the ceiling or the roof of my car, because I don't know
like
what
Looney
it is
Tunes.
right away.
When they start running.
I mean, so I think, I don't know. I
You
I
don't
would
have
say
a fear.
I
None.
used to be afraid of heights to the point where I couldn't even play video games where I was up high. It would make my palms sweat and like my chest tight. But I forced myself to do that enough now that it doesn't bother me as bad. I still don't like being up high, but I used to not even be able to climb a ladder, and I can do that now.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm pretty much conquered all my fears. I don't like people hating me. I think that
I've grown to love it.
This is a different kind of fear. Like, I mean, it's like, well, I fear I'm going to die alone.
because this is why like that kind of stuff is hard to bring up, because on the one side I'm like, I don't really care if people like me, but on the other side, if somebody avidly, like, it's okay if someone doesn't like me, but if they avidly hate me, I think that I can't rest with it.
So, question, because a lot of people I know that they have that where they don't like it when people don't like them. It usually comes down to they don't like it when people don't like them if there isn't a reason, or at least if you don't know the reason. Is that how it is, or is it more
No, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't mind if people don't like me, with or without a reason. They don't need a reason not to like me. It's when somebody really hates, like actually shows that, you know what I mean? Like when they take actions toward me to show that they hate me.
Okay.
I get that a lot.
You cannot like somebody and it just be like an indifferent type of thing, right? There are a lot of people I don't care for, so I just don't associate with them.
Yeah.
Right? And there are people who don't like me, so they just don't associate with me. But when people reach out to attack you, I think that's like a fear. It made me quit YouTube. I couldn't handle it. It made me quit social media. Can't handle it. Like it is like a waking nightmare to me to wake up to strangers being like, "Fuck you, whore. I hate you and your life is terrible." And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is awful. I gotta go." Yeah,
and it's on the rise for sure out there.
But I don't have anything like you guys where I have some childhood trauma.
Yeah, I have some trauma.
I mean,
for
I have
sure. some
trauma, but it doesn't bring me.
What's funny is I still haven't even talked to a therapist about this, like to try to get over it. Because I don't want to be afraid of needles and medical stuff, but mine is more needles than anything else. Mainly, you want to put him away.
Yeah,
just go ahead. He's been
Apollo just came up
rampant.
to the table and his nose is covered in cat litter, so he was in
Lovely.
the litter box.
Yeah, he's been running amok over there, just kind of doing whatever he wants to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, my fear is definitely needles, peenie needles. It's medical in a way, but it's mainly needles, and a lot of it is just the actual sensation of a piece of metal like that entering my skin the way it does. That's what does it for me. So back in the late 80s, I was in Catholic school, and I was in 4th grade. I was just starting kindergarten. Or not 4th grade. I was in kindergarten. I was 5 years old during the time. So it was kindergarten, and it was a place called Holy Family was the name of this Catholic church. It's in St. Louis. And I just started getting randomly chosen out of everyone in my class. It was only me.
So how many kids were in your class?
Probably like 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just you they're taking out?
Only me out of my classroom. And they would have us go out into the hallway, and they'd say, "We need to go down to the gym." I was like, "Okay, we'll go to the gym." So we go to the gym, and I can still play a lot of this in my mind. I do remember it. Going in, you walk through the doors on the left-hand side were the two rooms, like where the coaches would hang out, like the coach's office. You'd go in there, and they would give you a sheet. It was like a sheet of white wax paper, and it had these sweet, they're like caramel little droplets on it. And they're like in a row, like, 6, 6, 6, like that. Don't mean it that way. But they would have you take it, and you'd put it on your tongue, and it was like sweet. I have no idea why this ever occurred to me. None of this makes sense. So they would give you that. Then you go into the other room, and they would do immunizations on you, which you would get a shot, and then they would...
real quick, had your mom already had you vaccinated and everything?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to.
I was about to say, maybe your mom refused to vaccinate you, and they were like, "Fuck that."
No,
she had you vaccinated.
We were vaccinated.
Okay.
So we would go in, and then we go into so we take the sweet drop, and I want to know if this happened to anybody else. So sweet drop, you go in the next room, and then they start to basically do like a basic physical of you, and then they give you a shot. But like, I remember that happening, and I was like very confused of why it was happening, and my parents weren't there. There was nobody involved except for this team that was at the Catholic school. So that would happen. There'd be like a sister there or whatever, and then they would take a note and say, "I was given this immunization. Here you go." They'd put it in my shoe underneath my sock. In my shoe, so when I would get home and take my shoes off, then they're like, basically like, "Here, you've been served," to the parents. We've done our part. This happened. So it didn't only happen once. It happened again, and it was like the next couple weeks it happened again. It happened about 4 to 5 times.
What were you talking about? Some green machine?
I'm going to get to that, but it came 4 to 5 times. So I was getting immunized pretty regularly in a span that my mom was getting very upset with the Catholic Church about it. Like, school, what are you doing?
So they sent a note every time.
A note in my shoe every time.
And your mom hadn't gone up to the school yet? And 5 times you're getting shots, she hadn't gone up to the school?
She did go up there, and I'd have to ask her like the actual things. I don't think she currently remembers it that much. But it all shifted because I was diagnosed with a double hernia by the age of 5. I had a double hernia after these medical things were happening. So then I had to go in and get surgery on a double hernia at the age of 5. This is what all kind of shot it all off, because in the late 80s, our medical equipment wasn't the greatest at all. And they would have you go into this room. And this is the main reason why I don't like the giving blood and all that is because you would sit down in front of this huge green machine, and it had tubes that came out of it. And they'd have you place your hand in there. This is almost like torture. But they put your hand in there, and then it would get you while your hand was in there. And then you had to watch that happen through these clear tubes right in front of you. And it would go out into like a thing that, it held. But it was like seeing that, an instrument like that, pulling that out of me, that was horrible. But fast forward now, the trauma of all of that plays in today because I can't do it because of, it's not because it hurts or because of any other reason than the psyche of like when it happens, it just triggers something in my brain.
I love that Dave's watching porn, trying to keep his mind off of.
I'm
what's
looking
going
at
on.
memes.
Oh, my bad, memes, porn memes.
Porn memes.
But
I don't know why I was chosen, and there was only like 3 or 4 other kids that were involved.
see, that's so fucked up and weird to me. And I know your mom does have a hard time remembering all of it, but I know when you've brought it up to her, she gets really mad. Like not at you, but she gets really mad
she forgets about it. And I'm like,
she's like, what the fuck? I think she wants to know, like, what the fuck did they do to you?
You know
that
what?
is
I've never Googled
crazy.
it. I've never Googled it to see if there's any other kids out there that had that happen to them.
Well, you know what's weird is I'm so empathetic toward you that I've never had an issue with any medical stuff. But now when we're watching surgical shows, there's some things that make me like jump and cringe. And I think it's just because you're doing it that I'm like, man, you're like rubbing this phobia off on
You're
me.
being empathetic to me.
What if Jeff was part of an experiment to create the first super content creator, like Captain America?
I don't know that that's what his purpose was. I'm not saying he's not great.
Whatever it was happening created a double hernia. Like, I don't know how I would get that at the age of 5 without lifting heavy objects and stuff.
The other thing is you do have some like weird, like Jeff is, this sounds kind of shitty, but you're like the smartest autistic person I know. like you're very smart and not just in like you're a common sense smart. You're a sensible, well-rounded person. But like you do have Tourette's and you do have like these really weird Rain Man musical abilities that I think came from science. That's all.
I don't know. I don't know what happened in in those gymnasiums, but I do remember the sweet droplets, and I remember the sweet droplets always came a shot afterwards. And it was like the most just cold, just
you know what though, if they're giving you sugar is normally helpful, like I said, to keep your blood sugar up.
Right.
If you're giving blood, it could have just been sugar.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was LSD because I would, or acid,
but they were
Wasn't
giving you
dropping acid.
shots. They weren't drawing blood, right?
Both. They would do both.
I was about to say it makes sense if they're giving you sugar if they're drawing, but not if they're giving you shots. That's weird.
They would take your blood and they would give you a shot.
That's weird, dude.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Was the Catholic Church like just stealing our DNA or something?
I don't know.
They
could have gotten it from you a little easier than all that.
Yeah, you would think so. But I remember, but it got to the point where my teacher, which her name was Miss Bernie A, fantastic teacher. My parents loved her, but she actually contacted my parents during the time, said they're taking Jeff out of class. They're like, who? They're like the Catholic Church or whatever. They're taking them out of class.
Okay, but
no one else is going.
now
and no one would tell them.
Hear me out a little bit. You are like one of those people who has like crazy spiritual experiences. I don't know if everybody would call it spiritual, but that's what I'm calling it because it is to me. But like you are able to lucid dream and you've astral projected and you like have like a strong intuition or like a sixth sense, you know?
Yeah.
What if like some other thing going on there? Like what if they were experimenting on you?
I don't know.
That'd be so cool. It'd be terrifying, but it'd be so cool.
Yes, the trauma
What
of
if
the
Jeff
reason
is
why
like-
I have a phobia
What
today.
if Jeff made like alien babies out there? We don't know.
We don't know.
He could have a whole bunch of little
We're talking about that last time.
reptile
With that.
Jeffs running around.
Yeah, reptilian kids that I have.
Oh, Lord.
Well, Dave's done with this, so we're gonna move on to it.
Yep,
Um,
Doobie, you got gaming news.
No, we have the Ouija board.
Oh, shit, we got the Ouija board.
Yeah, I mean it's Halloween, so you got to talk about Ouija board.
Let-
I don't
let-
touch a Ouija board at all.
let's cover that after gaming news.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
Because, we don't got much after gaming news, so
Okay.
that'll give us
Well,
something to
all
talk
I
about
have
after.
I'm just going to give that list.
Okay, yeah.
So-
So we'll go through gaming news, and it's going to be short this week. Let's put the camera on me. There we go.
Thank you.
Hi. Sorry, I'm getting my brain back in the show. I had to like zone out for a moment. But pretty much, we talked about Fortnite and their black hole PR stunt they pulled last week, and the numbers came in, and 6 million people watched that event live. Which, I mean, compared to the numbers they claim have played the game, but that is a staggering amount of people, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's
to
a lot.
to watch an event live online. Like that
It's
is a lot of people.
Tiny compared to Shane Dawson's audience, but
Well, yeah.
It's huge compared to our audience.
oh yes, zillion billion times over. Yes,
So,
but I'm saying like Shane Dawson's a bigger deal than Fortnite.
well, I mean,
There are a lot of things that are a bigger
in the
deal than
grand scheme,
Fortnite.
no, because Fortnite totes that they have like 1 million active players a month and all this other stuff. Now their numbers are declining. They are not as popular as they once were. They're still in like the top 5 games in the world. So with this stunt, though, people were saying like it was a good thing for them to do because there were complaints that the game in the last year was starting to get weird. They introduced mechs and all this other stuff. They would then change things, nerf things. They were making all these changes. With the new map, they kind of they almost reset the game completely. They added new mechanics, new world. They changed up the weapons. Like they kind of were like, okay, the old one is gone. Here's a new and it's not just a new map. It's a new version of Fortnite. So it plays different and it's a whole new thing. And a lot of people think that it wasn't just so much to introduce the map. It was a way for them to go, this is what we want, but there was no easy way to transition. So we're just scrapping everything and giving you what we want the game to be.
Which is fishing and pogo sticks.
Yep. So
That's what they had.
that's
There's
kinda-
more to it, but
It's kind of what went on with Fortnite. We knew it would be back. We knew it would be big, all this. I'm glad it was more than just a map. I don't play the game, but I do like seeing companies try and progress, and offering more than a map, I think, is good on them.
yes.
Kind of in that realm, though, I'm actually doing my show notes a little out of order. The new Call of Duty Modern Warfare is saying that there will be 0 loot boxes.
Finally.
There's a catch. So
Oh,
it's
it is.
a $60 game, and when you buy the $10 premium battle pass, battle pass, you get everything.
Oh, that's doable.
So some people were upset because it's like, well, it's a $60 game. What if I don't want to buy the battle pass? But it's like instead of
don't.
microtransactions, they're just like, you know what? Like we need more money. Games are getting expensive to make. So I agree with the sales model 100%. You know what you're getting, you know what it costs, you can choose to buy it.
Yes.
And they'll do several battle passes a year because that's what the industry does. But $10 a battle pass, you get all those weapons, skins, guns, maps, whatever.
Instead of buying them individually.
So there was another name for this that people kind of stopped using, and that was DLC. This is what DLC was 15 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing though, with like games that have loot boxes, can't you use some type of you can earn in-game currency to spend instead of using your own money?
The way they're usually engineered is that it's astronomically slow. It will in some games. So in some games they'll offer an in-game currency that you'll earn at 1/10 of the speed as if you bought something. There are other games, like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, PUBG. What turned me off of that is they offered loot crates in that, and I would like get loot crates. I'd be like, sweet, I have loot crates. I had to pay to unlock them. So there are games out there where the loot boxes are purely pay to unlock. where they're taking the route of we're going with you buy the content, you get it, and there is stuff you can unlock in the game with an in-game currency, but everyone has access to it. So it goes from I heard this slogan when I was reading the article on it, and that is they're not going pay to win. It's instead of pay to win, it's grind to win. Whoever puts in the most time and unlocks what they want could maybe have a better gun or something, but the playing field is even for everyone. It's not someone goes and drops $500 on loot boxes, they end up with the best weapon in the game.
Yeah,
Now
that's the problem I have is people that do that.
And this is going to eliminate that, and it's going to be able to fund the company. I mean, I'm hoping this is successful because I would rather see the industry go down this route.
Yeah.
Where, you're buying a full price game, you're paying $10.
I just did a sponsored video on The Fisherman, and it was the Fishing Planet Fisherman, and they just made a new game that basically has no microtransactions in it. They have DLCs, but the first 2 DLCs are free. And then it's like anything else they do afterwards, you just pay a small fee for it, and you have everything in there.
Yeah. And unfortunately, and this is not gaming news, this is just my own opinion, I feel like the term DLC has been tainted by microtransactions. Because in the beginning, DLC was big stuff like this. They were expansion packs.
Right.
You got whole areas, hours of storyline, all this. And some games still do that. Not many. It's the big AAA games that don't even want to touch true microtransactions. They want to make expansions, so they just sell it under the name of DLC. But I think DLC's, the name has been kind of damaged to the point where they don't want to call it DLC anymore, because if you say, oh, we got DLC, people are like, oh, you want to sell me some skins? Like that's where most people's mind are when they hear that term now, unfortunately.
Most of the games I play, that's DLC. It's a whole big deal. It's a whole lot. It's not just small stuff.
Well, it's not always the case. I'm just saying in general. Like
no, I got you.
Like on the grand scheme of things, like it's unfortunately DLC is often small stuff. But so the other big thing is Riot Games, which is the name of the studio. Everyone used to make fun of them because they make League of Legends.
Right.
It's the only game they make.
Right.
So their name was Riot Games. And I was like, why is it called Riot Games? They make a game.
Yeah.
It's been, this year is the 10th anniversary of League of Legends is coming up, and it's massive. More people watch the World Championships of League of Legends than anything else. So like over 200 million people watch that, the streams of it. It's massive. It's like one of the biggest games in the world. They finally are making other games. They're kind of copying Blizzard in many ways, but they're expanding the League of Legends universe by making multiple games based in that universe.
Mm-hmm.
So they're putting out a card game similar to Hearthstone.
Yep.
They are putting out a first-person shooter game, which has been described as a mix between Overwatch and CSGO.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Go.
They're putting out a mobile version of League of Legends, and they're putting out a fighting game that is based on League of Legends characters. So they're putting out multiple games all within the fold of it, and then they're also making changes to League of Legends and all this. So if you're a League of Legends fan, it's some good announcements. It's going to be a good year. I personally haven't played League of Legends in years.
You played it like in 2016 last. At Earl House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's been a long time since I played.
And unfortunately, at the time, it was too toxic. It's a lifestyle. It's because it's one of the early esports. To really be able to play and be good at it, like you got to dedicate to. You got to know everything about that game to be competitive.
Yeah, when
I
I came in too late. I felt like it's not a game. What sucks for me is I didn't feel like it was a game I could pick up and learn and play and enjoy. It felt like if you didn't come in already good, people were just like angry and hateful. Like no one, like what I like about Overwatch is people will help you. They'll be like, hey, maybe this character or whatever. In League of Legends, it was just like, fuck you, get out.
Well, and they have their weird untold rules because they have like the lanes and certain characters belong in certain lanes. And I never knew that. Like when I was starting off, I had probably 50 hours in the game and someone eventually was like, you're in the wrong lane. I'm like, what are you talking about? I want to go kill this guy. I'm going to go kill him. Like, what do you mean that there's things I need to be doing? So that is how it is. Like the game has way too much meta to it that if if it's a lifestyle. I've always said League of Legends is a lifestyle. It's not just a game
We need
you
a
can enjoy.
Netflix documentary on my League of Legends life.
Actually, they are coming out with a documentary
About it.
Well, with the 10-year anniversary coming up, they're putting out some kind of show.
Yeah, but I want to see the people. That play
like
it.
the people that play
Yeah.
it. Oh,
Like My Strange Addiction, League of Legends.
Well, they're just all going to be streamers.
Not all.
Well, the top players are all streamers.
Well, maybe. But I mean, I want to see the people that like this is their life.
The people
They're
that
saying
aren't
it's a
the people that
lifestyle.
aren't good at it, that just like
Yeah.
they want to be, like they're chasing the dream. That would be like me, like trying to like back in.
No, I want to see people not
2014.
able to pay their bills because they're playing League of Legends and they don't work. That's what I want to see.
Oh,
Yeah, like the LARPing lifestyles, where the guy's like, that was a great documentary. I forget the name of it, but he would be working on his sword stuff and all that, and she's working like 2 jobs trying to get these kids through school, and he's just like living his LARPing life out.
He's the king of the realm, and how dare you?
No, absolutely was the king of the realm. And he had to defend his honor at a Denny's against his friend, and they stopped being friends.
Oh, that's right.
You
Oh my
remember it?
God, I forgot about that documentary. That's
It was
so good.
It's something, I forget what it's called.
Oh my God, that
Something
was
darkness. I
so
forget what it's
good.
called. Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up. I'll
Yeah.
get that,
That is
together for the
such a-
next time so people can see that gem for sure.
no, I'm actually that. I would love to see something like that. If something like that doesn't already
You
exist.
have not seen it?
No, I've seen that documentary. You showed that to me. No,
Burn
I'm
the
s-
castle down.
I'm saying like with modern day games, like because League of Legends is still massive. Fortnite is
Yeah.
up there. It's not as big as League, I think, just yet, because League has a bigger international presence.
I think
but-
it would be detrimental to Fortnite if they put a documentary out on how that ruins people's lives.
Oh, it would be bad for any game studio to have
Yeah.
that come out. But I'm just saying that would be very entertaining to see how that is affecting the average person. Because you have your streamers that are big, and then your people that are like on Pro League and that are really good at the game. And that's the thing, like with League, I can watch matches because I still understand the game.
Yeah.
And when I watch them play, I understand they're doing stuff I cannot do. They are very skilled at what they're doing. And I can, the same with Overwatch. I can watch an Overwatch match and I'm like, holy crap, like that, they're good. Like I understand the game enough to know when someone is skilled at it. So I would love to see, like you said, someone who's like not working, playing all day.
I don't want people to think I'm just being one-sided. Like I'm into very nerdy things. I do GTA 5 RP. I do police role play. I do, flight sim and stuff. Like I do very nerdy things, and I understand that. But I'm like talking about the people that this is their lifestyle. 1,000%.
Now, see, I'm going to have to disagree there. I think it's your lifestyle 100%. You just found a way to make money doing it.
Maybe.
They aren't able to make money doing that, but it's still their life, and they're doing it even
That's true.
because they just have the pure passion.
Well, but also you do have people, because I've talked to some people where they have that drive that I'm gonna go pro mentality, where they're like, if I just put in enough time and I get good enough, I'm gonna get noticed, and then I'm gonna get sponsors, and I'm gonna be rich, and I'm gonna be like Dr. Disrespect, and I'm gonna have my own G Fuel flavor. And they see that grander side of it, and they think that if they grind nonstop, they'll get there. And some people might be skilled enough in games to do that. But not everyone is going to be that good. I know I will never be talented enough to do any form of pro gaming. Like that's been gone for 15 years. So I don't know.
I'm definitely not a pro gamer.
Are we watching Dave get sad about losing his dreams here?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, that dream died 15 years ago.
Well,
MLG in the toilet.
in the StarCraft world, retirement age was 22, 23. If you were 22 or 23, you were considered too old to be a professional StarCraft player. So, yeah.
They need that dexterity.
Mm-hmm. Be able to issue, you got to be able to issue
Swish.
150 commands on average a minute.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts how good they are. But all right, so that's it with gaming news. I'm just cycling through the cameras. I don't know why, but
Oh, okay, thank you.
yes.
You show
Appreciate
us
that.
looking off into the distance.
Yeah, just wanted everyone to know what's going on. So we can move on from gaming news over to stories of Ouija boards.
Yeah, this is our last, I guess, scary story
Yeah.
Me and Dave have messed with the Ouija board our fair share of times.
I don't touch them.
Yeah, Jeff refuses to mess with them, and I understand why a lot of people do. I always say this for the people who like really believe in that stuff. I do use it very responsibly. I don't do.
You do, and I do appreciate that because I do believe in what it does, but I don't want to be around it.
Yeah, so I make sure to take all the precautions if you are somebody who gets freaked out about that. But the best Ouija board experiences I have are when I use it with Dave because whatever it is that we're communicating with loves Dave, and it will always talk to Dave.
That's
I mean,
because-
who doesn't want to talk to this? I mean, I'm great.
That's because
Okay.
Dave doesn't believe in it. It's like, oh, you don't believe? I'm gonna show you something.
Well, I love it. Every time we bring him around, it wants to communicate with us. He's not freaked out by it, though. You said it doesn't
Yeah.
freak
No,
you
it
out at
doesn't
all?
freak me out at all.
So explain it because I know. Okay, so many people think that it's fake and that you're doing it. But what would be the fun of that if you do that? You two like just hanging out and be like, let's try to contact somebody. No one's trying to freak the other person out. It's a matter of like, whoa, how did it know that? Or how is this moving?
So I know it's not fake, and I know Nicole is not faking it because I'm not. Because I'm just like, well, I think this is nonsense. Why would I be trying to do stuff to it? But it was the first time we were doing it, and the puck thing.
Planchette.
I'm gonna call it a puck.
Okay.
With a little looking glass.
So it's got the point and it's got the
Glass
thing in
bottom
it.
puck.
And it went to move, and we both had our hands on it. And the thing like Tokyo drifted sideways and then up. And it was like, there is no way whatsoever either of us could have made it move the way it did.
Yeah, because you have to touch it so lightly. Like, you almost want to be able to feel like
You can
like
feel
air
it
between your
pulling
finger-
away
yeah.
from you.
I couldn't do that. No way. I'd be like, nope, I'm good on that.
So you want to not put enough pressure that you can control it. You're kind of just resting and letting. I want to say letting it control, but there's also like I said, there's rules to it. It is meant. I mean, they sell it as a kids game. It's like for ages 14 and up.
Isn't it Milton? It's not Milton Bradley.
My
is it?
friend bought me a fucking Stranger. It is Milton Bradley.
Milton
And my friend bought me a Stranger Things one because it was on sale at Hot Topic, and she's like, just for fun, I thought you'd enjoy this. But we used
And
it.
it
It
works.
works.
Yeah.
But there are rules to it. Like if it starts, you don't let it just fly around the board without fingers on it because that's opening windows. You don't want to like let it start spelling anything, I guess, demonic or whatever you believe that it's doing. You don't want to let it just start doing its own thing, basically.
Yeah, feed into the negative.
Yeah. You always close it and say goodbye and flip the planchette and
Flip the board over.
flip the board.
Yeah, you do it responsibly. And to me, the reason why I believe that if you are in the mindset of you want to connect to a lower vibrational being and it wants to connect to you, then it will. It'll be like, oh, hey. So if you're using a Ouija board to get in the mindset of like, let's contact a spirit or contact something out there, a low vibrational being is going to be like, oh, they're in the mindset right now. They want to communicate with me. So, all right, let's do this. I think that's kind of how it works. I don't necessarily think that it's like your grandma or something that's going to be playing Ouija board with you or even a demon. I just think that it's unexplained things that
Like,
is
I agree.
feeding into what
I
you're
do
thinking.
agree with you that I think that it is lower vibrational beings. Like, I don't think anything good comes from. It's not like I don't think anything good comes from using a Ouija board. I will
Right.
say that, but I think you can prevent anything bad coming from it and leave it as
Yes.
just like entertainment.
I remember that one night. I was like, when I found out you had used it up there in the bedroom, I was like, we're saging the whole room.
I know.
Open the windows, sage it out. I'm not sleeping in a room where we just had spirits freely coming in. or
Having one
whatever.
tell us that Nicole's favorite food is popcorn.
Yeah, I don't want that. It doesn't.
want that.
It knows that because it's here. Like, come on. I don't. No, it doesn't need to know that.
Well,
Well,
So
it
what
did.
else? What else? So is it? Does it kind of just like play around, like say stupid stuff, or is it very direct?
I try to not ask too intensive questions and not. Okay, so like when I told my family that I was gonna mess around with the Ouija board my friend bought me, my grandma freaked out. She's like, "Don't do that." She told me she had a terrible experience with a Ouija board, and I asked her, I was like, "Well, were you like using it responsibly?" And she's like, "Well, of course not." You know, we were asking it really awful questions and getting freaked out and letting it do whatever it wanted. And she's like, no, we didn't have any rules or regulations to it. We just messed around. She's like, but then it started saying it was going to kill us. And it was getting really scary. And I was like,
and now you have the internet, so you can learn to not do certain
I
things
was
before
like,
you engage in those activities.
I was like, well, I keep control over the Ouija board. I don't let whatever the fuck's talking to me start telling me it's going to kill me.
Yes.
Ooh,
I
spooky.
stop it and get rid of it before it gets to that. Jesus.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So, but my family hates, most of my friends, like everybody hates that I do that. But I don't do it very often. I try to keep it to like twice a year, maybe.
You do. If you want to do it like in I don't know, your office or something, that's great. But
Jeff's like, just keep it out of the bedroom.
yeah, I just don't want it in the
know.
bedroom because when I go to sleep and I get into a certain vibrational set myself, I don't want to run into something like that.
Hey, maybe I'm into that. I want some people watching.
And I've had OBEs of falling out of my body and being like, whoa, I'm out of my body. This is fucked up. But I've had those things happen. I don't want that being like, oh, hey, finally somebody's up. What's up? You wanted Nicole likes popcorn, right? Let's talk about popcorn. Yeah, let's have a conversation about how Nicole likes popcorn while I'm out of my body right now talking to a low vibrational being.
And you're welcome. I gave you guys a talking point.
That is true.
So
Ooh, maybe
I'm
we
like, that is great. She does like popcorn, but please leave.
maybe we can.
He's like, only Sage.
The next time, let's see
I
if we
only
can
leave
get
a
some
Sage.
good personal information. Like, what's my old MySpace password? Because I don't know.
Dude, that
Ooh,
is
that
something
is-
to try. Ask that.
that's a good question. See, when I ask for help writing questions before we start, Dave never gives me that.
Because I'll tell you
Smart
what,
shit.
do that. Next time you guys do it, ask what yours is because I'll have it ask what mine is because I don't know. I'd love to remove some pictures off the internet that MySpace keeps forever. It's like, oh, hey, remember whenever Jeff was like drinking out of a mini keg by himself? Here it is.
You used to have like an afro too.
Yeah, I had a huge afro when I was, during the 20s.
It was awesome.
My 20s are on MySpace, so my stupid ideas of in my 20s of drinking like straight vodka and water and being an idiot are all plastered across.
Well, I was 15 and 16 when I had MySpace, so it's just 10 photos of me going like this.
Duck facing it.
It's so terrible. Like that emo girl, whatever. It's awful.
That's beautiful.
Yep.
Who owns MySpace now? They're owned by somebody pretty big.
It was owned by Justin Timberlake for a while.
Yeah, he bought it.
That's right.
But if he's not involved, it's probably just some investment firm because that's usually
It's
what happens is
MySpace
it gets
music.
passed around
That's
by
right.
investment firms.
JT.
You know what they're going to do? They're going to be like, hey, they're holding on to MySpace for so long, so they have just all this overhead over people. Be like, we have all of your information. If you want to get access to it, you need to come back to us. We're better than Facebook. Come on now.
That's called extortion.
Yeah,
That's
and I could see them
heavily
doing
illegal.
it. I could see them doing it.
I mean, at this point, Facebook has way more information on anyone. Facebook and Google.
Why haven't they
They know
redone
everything.
it?
Why
Why
what?
hasn't MySpace been redone? Be like,
They-
hey, the new improved MySpace.
They tried when Justin Timberlake bought it. They tried to go back.
I never saw a commercial for it.
Oh, you're never going to see a commercial for it. That costs too much. They tried to go back to their roots by being a site about music.
Yeah, I
But
know that.
at that point, YouTube was already up and running. And it's like, why would I want a little website where people can hear my music? And
SoundCloud too, yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's so many other services. When MySpace took off because it was the only site that offered that at its time. You were a band, you wanted to share your music, you didn't want to pay for a website, sign up for MySpace, throw your music on there, people could come, write comments. It was great for its time. There's no need anymore for it.
Well, Roommates Podcast is not on MySpace, but we are on Twitter at Roommates Cast. I've seen that popping up a few times on the thing. That's new.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that works. Woo.
Yeah, it's just been randomly popping up. It's like, hey, at Roommates Cast. So if you want to see what's going on Twitter or know if why we're not around or something, we'll let you know there.
Yep.
But we've been talking. We talked about it in our table discussion before we started. Was what we want to do with a post show. So possibly opening that up to super chat and talking to the audience, because when we do this podcast, we don't have a live chat in front of us. I think maybe Dave does.
I do. Yeah.
I don't see it. You don't see it. We just do our show and then that's it. It's not an interaction with the audience, but you had an idea of doing a post show
Yes.
and taking like super chat messages and stuff.
Yeah. So the idea was that so we do the podcast and that goes out to all the podcast networks that we're on. But for people that are catching the live show, it would be kind of like a bonus where they would get the post show. We would actually interact with them. We could touch on questions or comments made during the show and just kind of do a little wrap up with them. So
I think that would be awesome.
Do you want to try it today? We can try it after the show.
we can try that. So for those of you that would like to join in on that, we are live on Mondays at 3 over on YouTube and Twitch.
Yes.
So yeah.
But mainly YouTube.
Yes, mainly YouTube.
Just mainly.
Before you fade out, I just really quick, it'll
You're
take
fine.
me about 2 minutes. So like I said, I'm a huge horror junkie. So I've had already a few friends reach out to me for like my list of like must-see scary movies. So I made a little list for you guys. You can get out your little pen and paper and write this down. Now, this isn't all of, this isn't, there are other great scary movies out there. This is my list of like go-to, like really good ones that have a good story. None of them are over the top in gore or sexual themes or anything like that. These are pretty standard story-driven horror films. So like Saw and really heavy slasher stuff isn't in there. Before I give you this list though, I have already seen 4, I think, good scary movies just from 2019. So good year for scary movies. What I see, It Chapter 2, Scary Stories, Pet Cemetery.
That was good.
And there was one more in there that I can't remember.
Child's Play.
Child's Play.
And then you just started watching
Annabelle Comes Home. This has been an amazing year for scary movies for me. I have not been to the movie theater this many times in a year ever. Like oh my God, such good movies. So I'm going to give you a top 10 list of horror films that I think you should watch to get you in the mood for Halloween. And then I made a little list for movies that are good for like families with kids.
All right, let's hear them.
You ready?
Yeah.
Annabelle Comes Home or any of the Conjuring films. I also left out all Stephen King movies because I feel like they need their own category.
Yeah.
Number 2, The Fourth Kind, about aliens.
I love that one.
It's really good. Number 3, Cabin in the Woods. One of the best stories of any horror film I think I've ever seen. Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a classic. It gave me nightmares as a kid. Scream. Really good too if you're home alone or babysitting.
Scary movies.
6 is The Strangers with Liv Tyler. It's a really good movie. Paranormal Activity, not one of my favorites, but it tends to be a favorite for people.
I saw it in
as
theaters,
a scary movie. So
and then after I saw it out of theaters, it wasn't scary anymore. It was stupid.
yeah, it's okay, but I know a lot of people really like that one, so I put it on the list. The Babadook, really scary, gave me nightmares again.
Babadook?
Wait, it's Babadook or Babadook?
Babadook.
Babadook.
I thought it was Babadook.
Have you seen the movie?
I have not.
It's Babadook.
Okay.
Babadook.
Anyway,
Babadook.
Babadook in the head.
you guys
Perfect.
fucking suck. 9, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I put the 2015 version on there because that's the one that was the scariest to me personally.
Babadook.
Fuck you. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which just came out this year. It's PG-13, so if you have teenagers or even like maybe more mature 10 to 12-year-olds can watch that. It's not like super sexual or anything, and it is based off of a childhood book. But it was really pretty scary, and I loved it. So that's on the list. I'm giving an honorable mention to Dave's favorite horror film, which is Cheaper by the Dozen.
Beautiful, because no one wants that many children.
It's terrifying.
All right, quickly, I'm going to go
Held
through
up.
my list for kids because we got to include the children.
Include the children,
Plus,
please.
I do love the kids' scary movies too.
Okay.
So,
Can we talk
number
about
one-
what you guys watched last night?
Sure.
we did watch Arthur.
Arthur's in the haunted treehouse.
We did watch Arthur in the
I love
Haunted
Arthur,
Treehouse.
so it's a beautiful kind of day.
All right, so quickly, scary movies that are still Halloweenish, but kids can watch them.
Can I guess number 1?
Yeah.
Halloween Town.
No. Halloween Town's on the list, but
Oh, it is? I wouldn't even call it a scary movie.
no, but it's a Halloween movie,
I
and
guess
kids
so,
can
yeah.
watch it. All right, so Hocus Pocus, obviously number
Oh,
1
yeah.
because it's the best. 2 is Coraline.
That's a Halloween movie?
That's a spooky movie.
It's a spooky movie.
Oh.
Nightmare Before Christmas. That's another given. Edward Scissorhands. Half of these are Half of these are what's his name?
Those are Christmas movies.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. That's not Christmas.
Edward Scissorhands is a Christmas movie, and so is
Nightmare Before Christmas is a Halloween and Christmas movie.
I do agree with that.
Anyway, same with Edward Scissorhands. It's a Halloween and a Christmas movie. Beetlejuice, Frankenweenie, Ghostbusters, The Addams Family Values.
Yeah.
Casper, the one with Christina Ricci in
Haven't seen that
1995.
forever. We need to watch that.
And Halloween Town. I think I put a special mention to the Gremlins somewhere. I did. The Gremlins was a special
That's a Christmas
mention.
movie.
See, but I feel like the
So is Die
80s
Hard.
Yep.
did a good job of making holiday movies. Like, it's like you can watch it anytime from Halloween to Christmas.
Yeah.
They made them scary, but also Christmas time.
And they do that. They go like, they cover all their bases.
Yeah, it's
in the movies, they're
brilliant.
like, hey, here's Halloween, and now we're into Christmas time because we made the time go by that quick in a montage of 2 seconds.
Yep.
And then you're like, well, now it's both.
Yeah, but it's because people get way more hype for Christmas than they do for Halloween. So if they add a Christmas aspect into scary movies, like Krampus, it's brilliant. You want to watch it from like around Halloween when you want to see scary movies all the way to Christmas.
Yeah, but Krampus is a traditional thing.
Yeah, but they turned it into a horror film. I'm talking about the movie, not Krampus the aspect, but Krampus the movie with Adam Scott.
I haven't seen the movie, but I hope it's an accurate representation.
Oh, good God.
Yeah, because he celebrates
Yeah,
any form of
celebrates.
German fucking Christmas. Whatever, Dave. Fuck you.
Better Nicholas here. Well, one
Don't
thing to
offend
say.
Dave's culture and
Yes.
his heritage with the wrong fucking
How
representation
dare
of
they not
Krampus.
show Krampus correctly? But you know what is one thing I have noticed, and we've said this. We went to Lowe's recently to get a coffee pot. Was my coffee pot.
Which is kind of a serial killer thing to do, to go to
Yes.
Lowe's for a coffee
All three of
pot.
us went. They didn't have them.
Because they're fucking Lowe's.
Yes, and we had to go to Office Depot instead to get a coffee pot. But when we were in Lowe's, nothing but Christmas decorations. Your Halloween section is just thrown in this corner. Like, here you go, Halloween. People are obsessed with Christmas this early on.
That's what I said before,
Mm-hmm.
like a couple podcasts ago. There is no fall here. There's no Halloween. There's no. They just throw you
I don't know
straight
if it's
into
just
Christmas.
here though. I think it's everywhere.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'm under the belief that I think Thanksgiving is going to be pushed out completely in the next 20 years.
No way.
No, I mean, people will still celebrate it, but it's not like stores, I don't think, are capitalizing on it like they used to. It goes Halloween straight into Christmas, and you're even getting Christmas before Halloween. They're not going to have a Thanksgiving section with big inflatable turkeys to put in your front yard. They're going to have inflatable Santas.
I wonder what
for you
happened to
buy.
those.
You know what, too? They've almost been phasing out Thanksgiving for a while because the economy pretty much benefits more from Black Friday than it does from Thanksgiving. And they've slowly starting Black Friday earlier and earlier over the last, 10 years.
And Thanksgiving has a dark past.
Well, it will
I
be.
mean, let's
Be
kill
the
all
Great War of Thanksgiving.
Kill all the Indians.
Its past is a woman just bothered Abraham Lincoln, bothered him nonstop until he made it a holiday because she wanted to celebrate food and family. That's how the holiday got started. Has nothing to do with pilgrims.
Okay.
Well, they wrote a cool backstory for it, so that's what we're sticking to.
They did a Thanksgiving, but
And
our
on
holiday's
Easter,
not based on
there
it.
is a bunny that hops around and steals eggs and then hides them in the yard for you to find the
That
next
actually
day.
does happen year after year.
That bunny lays the eggs.
Whatever, either way.
That's not chocolate.
Children's fables are so far fetched,
The
and
way
then
that
people
our
get upset
holiday-
if I believe in aliens. Like, okay, I go believe in the Easter Bunny.
Well, they're also 5.
That is true, but it always stays with me.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Well,
So there's my list of movies. Enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap things up. We're going to move into our post show after this little hiatus,
yep.
but we'll see you next Monday.
Next time.
Bye bye.
Can't